Hi everyone, my name's Dustin and I'm 26 years old. To survive, I had to go through dreadful pain. If I hadn't cut off my own hand, I wouldn't be here to tell you my story. I've always been passionate about motorcycles. The sight of traveling bike riders took my breath away. When I grew up, I was determined to become a biker so I could have a cutting-edge motorbike of my own. I had to upgrade my driver's license first though. I live in Wisconsin, where you need a valid car driver's license before you can drive a bike. You fill out a form in the Department of Motor Vehicles, then you get your vision checked, you stare into a black box and report everything you see to the inspection officer. All that's left to do is pass a knowledge test, and you can print out a temporary motorcycle driver's license right away. A shiny new Suzuki V-Strom had been waiting for me in my father's garage for a while. It was a very beginner-friendly bike and I couldn't wait to ride it. I was on cloud 9 as I headed home to finally break it in. After 10 days or so, I received my proper driver's license by mail. From that moment on, I spent a huge chunk of my life on the road. I loved going on long-distance trips out of my home state. I tried joining bikers club a few times only to discover that group cruises weren't really my thing. No problem, I continued traveling alone. Some years later, after I visited every state in America, I wanted to travel abroad. The idea seemed very exciting, but it was years later when I actually ventured on an extremely long-distance trip. I went as far as another continent, South America. I needed to take a long vacation for that, which happened a few times a year. So my incident happened when I took 2 weeks off to go to Peru. I couldn't wait to be away from my daily routine and my work-related issues. By the way, let me tell you about my job. I have the most tedious job in the world. I really hate it. I grow more repulsed by it with each passing year. I work as an accountant, which is an incredibly dull and repetitive occupation. I'm kind of a scatterbrained person who can't stand the drudgery. But the worst thing about the job is the enormous weight of responsibility for other people's money. It keeps me on the verge of a nervous breakdown. An accountant lives in a state of constant fear of overlooking illegal development. If there are changes to legislation and you interpret them wrong, it can result in enormous fines for your employer. Financial penalties for organizations in the US are huge, and they can be incurred for the tiniest mistakes. This keeps an accountant constantly on the edge. You sort of learn to live in the moment because you never know what happens tomorrow. When things go wrong, you're lucky if they simply fire you. They might also make you work off your debt for several years, all because of a seemingly insignificant error. Anxiety never stops haunting me. You can never be sure you've done something right. I've already lost half the hair on my head. Let this serve as a visual evidence of the way my job affects my health. All in all, this is a job I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy. My motorcycle getaways felt like an escape to heaven. Those were the moments when I felt truly free. I like being left to my own devices. That particular voyage promised to be spectacular. I was hoping to make some fun selfies to show off my courage and creativity. I used Google Maps to plan my route, and then I set off on my disastrous voyage. My bike went steady uphill, then slid gracefully downhill. I enjoyed the road so much I was singing at the top of my lungs. I actually yelled so loudly that my voice echoed off the other side of the canyon. My destination was the Cotahuasi Canyon. I had chosen it because it had lots of caves, crevices, and rocky outcrops to explore. I felt on top of the world, overwhelmed by a giddy kind of happiness. I decided to take some pictures on a whim. A perfect selfie needs a background with good lighting that also looks exotic enough. I noticed a spot in the bottom of a crevice that seemed to fit. I needed to climb down to reach it. There was a huge boulder stuck between the walls of the crevice. I tested the boulder's integrity by standing on top of it. When it didn't bulge, I jumped up and down cautiously. It seemed secure. I proceeded to climb down, holding onto the boulder for support. 2 minutes later, I was standing on the ground with the boulder looming 20 feet over my head. I spent about 20 minutes taking pictures. After I made a dozen top-notch selfies, it was time to climb back up, return to my bike, and ride on. But when I reached the boulder and grabbed it just like I did before, the unthinkable happened. It moved, and then I fell, dragging the boulder down with me. I don't remember the actual fall. I suppose I passed out from the shock. When I came to my senses, I screamed with pain and despair. And so, an agonizing night followed, then another. On the third day, I ran out of water. I figured there was no way I'd get out of there in one piece. No one would come to rescue me, as there was no service down in the crevice. I'd been trapped under the rock for 3 full days. Then I knew I needed drastic measures to survive. The toughest one been lingering in my mind, but I was wary of focusing on it. Now it came back to my feverish brain in full force. Yes, this was what I had to do. Cut off my own hand, which was already smothered beyond recovery. I struggled to remain calm as I applied a makeshift tourniquet above my elbow. So I took a deep breath and giggled hysterically as I went on with my dreadful task. The most difficult and horrifying step was breaking the bone. After starving and suffering for 3 days, I just didn't have enough strength left to make the effort. I passed out several times before I finished the job. After bandaging the stub, I climbed out of the crevice. This time I only had one hand to rely on, and I was exhausted beyond belief. After I reached my motorcycle, I had to drive for 15 miles before my phone had signal again. I called a rescue team and immediately passed out from exhaustion. I woke up at the hospital, feeling as if I just had a terrible nightmare. Unfortunately, the hand stump was there as a reminder. This happened every morning until I adjusted to my new reality. I'd wake up and I wouldn't believe I had lost a hand. Eventually, it got a little easier to deal with. And so this is what I want to tell to all my fellow thrill seekers out there. Please take care and travel with caution. Don't do anything stupid just to make a cool selfie, or you'll end up like me. I mean, things could have been even worse. Do you guys want more episodes? Then press the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell. Want to see your own story? Then send them over to this email here.